I'd like to show you how to use a spreadsheet. Now, this PowerPoint or this video is really an introduction to spreadsheets. So if you're a little familiar with spreadsheets, this might be helpful, but it really is geared to people who haven't had much experience at all. Now, one of the really neat things here is that if you go to the description for this YouTube video, and in the description there is a link there, and it will take you to this actual spreadsheet. So if you click on that link, you can open up this spreadsheet and actually practice the things that I'm showing you in this video. Now, if you click on that link and open up this spreadsheet, you won't have rights to be able to edit or comment or anything to this particular spreadsheet because lots of people could be working on this at one time and it would be a mess. So what we need to do, I'm going to just open up and show more options here. When you click on that, you'll need to go to File and then make a copy. And then it will make a copy for you, and you'll be able to work on your copy of that spreadsheet. So if you want to pause and do that now, you can follow along on your own copy as the video plays. Now, we'll start out basic here, but every one of these little boxes is called a cell. And if I click there, that is cell B10. This cell would be E13, and I think you can figure that out. There's one of three things that you can put into a cell. One is a number. So if I just type 58, Sheets will recognize that as a number. If I hit enter, it knows what number that is. So if I were to multiply that number by 2 or subtract 15, it could do that. So you can put numbers into these cells. You could put a label. So if I type label like this, that would be just words that humans know, but Excel wouldn't know what that word was. If I type something like 58 feet and hit enter, humans can look at that and say, hey, yeah, that's 58 and the unit is feet. We recognize the number there, but Excel wouldn't know what number that is. The reason is there's numbers and symbols mixed together. So it just thinks that is a label that humans understand, but it doesn't know what it is. So we have numbers, we have labels. Here's another example of a label. The third thing we can put into a cell is a formula, where it will actually ask the sheet to do some operation. And to flag it, to tell it that it's going to do some formula, we have to start with an equal sign. A plus sign would also work. So I could, if you wanted to actually do something with that, you would have to start with an equal sign. So I could do, say, 12 divided by 3. And because I started with an equal sign, when I hit enter, it will actually perform that operation, take 12 and divide it by 3, and give us the result. If I had said 12 divided by 3 without first putting an equal sign, it didn't perform that operation and just left it as it was. You could actually go in and format this as a date, and then if you had typed in 12-3, it would have said December 3. There's a number of ways you can format these cells. All right, let me just delete that here. I'm going to hit this little button just to give me a little more workspace. But one of the most frustrating things for people learning how to do spreadsheets is the fact that your cursor does different things depending on where you place the cursor. And where you place the cursor will take on different shapes. So right now my cursor is the shape of an arrow. If I click right there, I have selected that cell. If I click and drag, then I've selected that range of cells. If I click and drag, I can select a whole bunch of cells. Okay, so for number 1 here, it says select all characters. So we're going to select all these characters by clicking and dragging. Then move to the orange cells. When I put the cursor on the perimeter of something I've selected, so I first selected that, I'm going to put the cursor right here. The cursor changes shape when I get onto the perimeter. Doesn't matter if it's there or over here. Anywhere on the perimeter, it will change shape. And if I click and drag, it's going to grab hold of that and move those things to over here. All right, so just putting the cursor on the perimeter and click and drag will move something from one set of cells to another. Number 2 here says select all the characters, then copy to the orange cells. So we're going to click and drag, and this time, instead of putting the cursor on the perimeter, that would have moved it. I want to copy. And you see on the very bottom right-hand corner of what I've selected is a little box. If I carefully place it right on that box, the cursor changes shape and becomes a thin little plus sign. So if I click and drag to here, here, and there, it will copy those things to all those places. Let me just hit undo. I want to show you the instructions here said do not use Control C and V. That Control C and Control V would work. I could hit Control C, click this, and hit Control V, click this and that, and that would absolutely work, but it's probably not what you want to do with a spreadsheet, because you might have 500 of those things that you needed to paste those to, and it's so much easier just to drag 500 places. All right, I'm going to scroll down here, and this is going to start to introduce some of the power of what Excel or Sheets can do. So it says write a formula that gives the result in each row. So we're doing something very simple here. I just want to take 2 and add 5 to it. Let me first show you a way that will work, but it's a miserable way. I could type in a formula by starting with an equal sign and take 2 and add 5. That would work. Now, I have, in the background here, I have done what's called conditional formatting, so that if you type in the right formula, my cell will turn green. And that's only because I've gone into the background and made that happen. Okay, but anyway, if you double click, you can see what you typed. That would work, but there's a better way. I could actually click on the 2. I'm clicking on cell B25. So if I click on cell B25, it populates that as that. I could hit plus and then click on that, which is cell D25. And you think, why is that better? Well, let me explain. What it is doing is it's not just taking 2 and adding it to 5, it's taking what is in this cell and adding it to what is in this cell. And notice it is B25 and D25. Okay, and that's all in this row right here. When I hit enter, it took what was here and added to what was there to give me this result here. But remember, we can copy. If I double click on that, I can see the formula that I did. If I hit escape, I can get back to where I can copy. In this cell is a formula that refers to this number and this number. If I copy that formula by placing my cursor on that corner, click and drag, I'm copying the formula down 1 time. And if I look and see what the formula there is now, it automatically changed it. Instead of B25 and D25, copying the formula down moved the number down 1 time. Now I'm hitting escape. So I typed the formula in once right here, copied it to here, but instead of just copying it down 1 time or 2, I can copy it all the way to the bottom here, and the formula is going to update. So like right here at the very bottom, I can see what the formula is by double clicking, and it says B25 and D25. Add those two. I'm hitting escape. All right, number 4 here. From algebra, we're just going to take a function 2 times x plus 3, and these are my different values of x. So I can just say equals 2, and then shift 8 is asterisk. That's our symbol for multiplication. I'm going to multiply by x, which is this number here, and then add 3. That's what our function is. So what it's saying is going to take 2, it's going to multiply by the number that's in this cell, and then add 3. The answer was 5. But that is a formula that refers to that cell. If I copy that formula all the way down, the formula changes. And now down here, the formula would say 2 times what was in that cell. All right. Now, this is not exactly a physics example, but it's a practical example to see how this might be used just in business or something. So in this cell here, I'm going to buy 10 mass sets at this price. Don't forget to hit equals to start. So if I'm going to buy 10 of them, we take 10 and we multiply by the cost, hit enter, and that's how much they're all going to cost. That's a formula that multiplied those two cells. If I copy that formula all the way down to here, that is going to be the correct thing for each cell all the way down. All right, and then what I want to do is I want to find the grand total of that. I want to add them all up. Another way of adding them all up is finding the sum. So there are some formulas that are already pre-built into this, and sum is an example of one. And then it gives a list of lots of different formulas. When I open parentheses, this is like a function. I have to put something into the function to do the calculation. So I have to put numbers into the function called sum so that it will find the sum. Add them all up. So now that I've opened my parentheses, I can click on this number, drag to all the way up here, and it's going to take all those numbers from H56 to H80, hit enter, and that is the sum of all those. There's a couple other, so moving on to number 6 here, we can do that again by hitting equals, the sum. And I don't have to do it for numbers in just a row. I could click and drag a whole bunch of numbers all the way down to here, hit enter, and it gave me the answer there. Another formula that Sheets has pre-built in is called average. So if I say equals average of, and again, I'm going to put all those numbers into the function called average and hit enter. This is the average of all those numbers. Right here, I have a link. It says click here. So if I click there, it takes me to all of the different functions that Sheets has pre-built in. And if I scroll down here, you can see there are a bunch. So have fun, check them out. There's anything from engineering, math, statistics, lots of stuff you can look at there. All right, so now I'm going to introduce a little bit new feature. We saw how these formulas can reference other cells, and I want to use that here. So I'm going to create a tipping chart for your waiter and stuff. So if I hit equals, I'm going to take that dollar amount and I'm going to multiply by the percent, which is this number, hit enter. And so for a $15 meal at 18% tip, we should tip $2.70. Now I can copy that formula. If I click and drag down, you might think, oh, that's going to be wonderful. But when I do it, oh, something terrible happened. What the heck is going on there? Now, if ever you make a mistake like this, before you get too far along, just hit the back button. Let me copy that formula down just one time here and see what happened. It returned 0. So let's double click there. And I guess I did a funny little thing here, but I merged two cells here, but that 18% was actually in this upper cell. I just combined the two cells to make it bigger. All right, so when I copied the formula that was here, when I copied it down one time, it changed from using this number to going down one time, which is what I wanted. But I didn't want it to go from that number down. If I hit escape and I click down again, it says, I don't even know what you're talking about, because it took this number and I copied it down 3 times, and copying it down 3 times is trying to take 20 and multiplying by a label that doesn't know what to do. So I'm going to go back to here, to my original formula. Now, as I copied that formula down, I did want it to change from F88 to F89. So I did want 88 to change to 89, but I did not want it to change from G85 to G86. I need to keep and hold it right there at 85. And you would never guess, but if I insert my cursor right there and hit Shift 4 by putting a dollar sign, you never would have guessed at that, but a dollar sign is going to freeze the numbers there, the rows, so that it doesn't change. So now if I hit enter and copy that down one time and look at, oh, I guess I had 15 in there twice. That's why it gave me the same number. But see how it did keep it at 85. I'm going to go back and change that to just $10. Okay, so there's that formula that is holding it right there, but letting it change all the way down here. Copy it down to here, and we've got the appropriate tip for each one of these things. I'll show you one more thing. It says now type in a different tip percent and see how the formula updates. It wasn't taking 10 and multiplying by 18. It was taking what was in this cell and multiplying by what was in that cell. So if I change what is in that cell, let's say I only want to do a 10% tip, watch what happens. As soon as I change the value into here, I'm hitting enter, all these numbers changed and updated immediately. If I wanted to put a 25% tip in, all those numbers change as well. All right, now we're going to create a multiplication table. I want to fill in what 1 times 1 is, what 1 times 2, what 2 times 1 is, and so on. But we have to carefully use dollar signs to do that. So I'm going to hit equals. It's going to be a formula. I want to take what is here and multiply. So it's Shift 8. It's an asterisk. And I want to multiply it to this. All right, so that's my base formula, but I got to fix it with dollar signs. As I copy that formula down, right here, I want to take the 1 and I want to multiply it by a 2. So this orange outline here needs to change from 118 to 119. So I do not want to put a dollar sign there. But as I copy this down, I always want it to stay here for this purple outline at 117. So I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of that 117. It's going to hold it right there. Now I'm going to copy this cell all the way down to here, and it would be correct. But then I want to take all those formulas and copy them to the right. I got to just do one more thing to fix this. This orange outline here, if I copied the formula to the right one, the B over here would change to a C and a D and an E as I copied it further and further across. So when I copy to the right, the numbers change. When I copy it down, I said that wrong. When I copy it to right, the letters change. When I copy it down, the numbers change. So copying it to the right, I always want this to stay here at row B. So I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of the B. And that will hold. As I copy it down, this number is always going to stay here. as I copy it across, these numbers are always going to stay here. So no surprise, 1 times 1 is 1. Click on it, copy it down. Okay. And then now I still have all of these selected. So I'm going to click all those formulas, copy them all the way to over here. And looks like 14 times 14 is 196. All right, that's just an introduction to spreadsheets. And there will be more on this later, more with physics applications.